Anjali, thank you so much. And this is a really important session we're going to look at now. We're going to talk about collaboration because it is a word that we've heard a lot about. But what does it mean in practice? What does it mean in reality? Because some of those international research centers are now working in unison around the world. And I want to look at the role that they play in promoting responsible deployment and development of AI. And once again, the important role of collaboration. And so to do that, please welcome my panel for the next few minutes who have joined me. Abdulrahman Habib, who's next to me, Vice President of the Strategy Office at iCare. Professor Dr. Amal El-Falah Sagruchni, who's a member of the World Commission on Ethics of Scientific Knowledge and Technology at the AI Movement. Welcome. And at the end there, Marco Grabelnik, who's at the AI Department at the Joseph Stefan Institute. Welcome to you all. Thank you for being with us. And Abdulrahman, let me start with you, because we heard a little in that video about the need for collaboration when it comes to the sphere of AI. And I wonder what that looks like in practice, and what specifically does it mean at iCare?
Thank you. Very good question. These centers, the C2C centers, are here to support the SDGs and the programs that we do with the UNESCO and UN. Collaboration means a lot between these centers. Today, as we speak, we are collaborating with ERCAI in the International AI Olympiad. 25 countries are participating in that Olympiad. This is a movement to raise awareness and support capability buildings for our young children and gifted students in specific, in order to have among them in the near future, hopefully, Alan Turing Award awardees, or other scientists, top scientists, maybe opening a new company similar to OpenAI and others. So this collaboration will help us evolve with the capacity building and supporting different countries and different societies within our region as well.
And we'll talk about education in just a second, just because that's one of the fundamental principles of this, isn't it? But it's so interesting. We saw that video a little earlier about the AI Olympiad, and this is about preparing a whole generation, a whole workforce for a world of work that they probably won't even recognize.
That's true. I think the movement in Saudi Arabia, what inspired us to also work with ERCAI and the International Olympiad. As His Excellency mentioned earlier, we have more 500,000 students participating in this movement. Now, the Olympiad or the competition is not the goal. The goal is the capability building for these students to spark their interest and passion to work on AI and to be participant in these new technologies, not only a user.
Dr. Amal, let me bring you in at this point, because we talked there about collaboration and why it is so important. It's quite obvious that being able to work across boundaries and across borders is so important here. That is what these second-level centers are doing. Talk to me about what granting that C2C title means for AI movement. What does that allow you to do?
Hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. The AI movement have been called AI movement exactly because we would like to move together with ethical and responsible AI and to develop tools to solve real problems on the African continent. So our mandate from UNESCO is to enhance AI technology in a very specific way. I mean, to develop trustworthy AI on the continent. That was the mandate for which we have been granted Center of Category 2 of UNESCO last year at the same time of your center. And we are happy to work together with the other centers of UNESCO. So our main objective is to go to develop and to enhance the SDGs on the African continent. We have developed many flagships with UNESCO for education, training, research and development. And at each stage, we would like to, for example, solve the gender equality equation. We can develop many of these flagships and examples later, maybe. But what I would like to say right now is that our role, it is a vital role, because from one hand, we would like to develop capacities on the continent, and also this means for population, for AI adoption at the étatic level means that we can also help states to adopt AI technology and also to develop AI strategies. And this was one of the main recommendation of the UNESCO for readiness assessment management, what we call RAM. Morocco was one of the first 4 countries that adopt this approach. And also, I would like to mention that as member of the COMEST, I have been working on ethics for years within UNESCO. And as you know, UNESCO has proposed the main normative framework for AI ethics. And this is something very interesting to look at very carefully.
Marco, let me bring you in at this stage too, because one of the clear things here is this pace at which change is happening when we talk about AI. And these sensors will also play an important role in monitoring and quantifying that though too. And that's really important, isn't it? Just explain why.
Yeah, you see, AI as, well, all 3 centers actually appeared in a time when this big AI transformation happened. I mean, you heard the talks before by Aramco, Alex Mola, and others, right? Explaining all this, something which, to be honest, 2 years ago was unimaginable, right? But now, if you look, it's not even 2 years, right, from when ChatGPT appeared. So it's like 20 months now, roughly now, right? So within these 20 months, so many things happened, right? So, and what's interesting, most of these things, not just for me, but also for my colleagues, we didn't expect that this will happen in our lifetime, to be honest, right? Now, within these 20 months, things are coming on a weekly or monthly basis, new elements, and of course, each solution which appears on the market, that I'm sure most of you are tracking this, opens new avenues, right? Now, understanding this, right, so that new innovation or new product or new service, either done by big tech or SMEs and so on, needs to be properly understood, or at least understood to good enough so that we can integrate it in our lives. Now, all 3 UNESCO centers which we are sitting here, right? So we have this at least capacity, understanding on one side, the technical, scientific, and on the other side, we have this societal impact or through either education and science. Right now, measuring this, right? To some degree, in IRCAI, in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, so we are doing this kind of observatory also in collaboration with OECD, which we will hear a little bit later on the panel, in 2 panels after this. And you see, the difference is not just technological. It has also impact on geopolitics, obviously. It has impact on education, market, policies, especially because regulators are totally confused in this world, right? The policy cycle usually would be 1 to 3 years. Right now, here we talk about monthly cycle almost, right? So in that sense, somehow the role of our centers is good, well positioned to understand technology, science, and also deliver these messages to, let's say, policymakers. Well, first UNESCO is international one, but also to the national ones.
And Abdulrahman, there is a cultural element here too, as well, isn't there? And talk to me about the significance of centers here, the location geographically at the center of the Arab world, to make sure that the development of this technology is equitable too, that the Arab world has a voice in this development.
I think the center is an international recognition from UNESCO to the role of Saudi Arabia. The vision that the kingdom started about 4 years ago is implemented. It wasn't just ink on papers. We are today living in an active role for the kingdom in multiple fronts. You have seen multiple announcements so far, and many will come in the next couple of days. And having a center in Riyadh in specific and working with Gulf, Arab countries, and Africa will play a significant role. We already announced in the previous summit, Women Elevate. where we are planning to train 25,000 women in Africa and mainly for AI. 1,000 of them already gone through the training, and we're working on adding more in the next 2 years. So collaboration in these areas, bridging the gap, especially in capability building, and producing and supporting different countries to produce and be an active member in this area. So Saudi is not working only internally for Saudi itself, but also we are expanding to regional and global roles, especially with our partners, centers, and UNESCO.
And each continent will bring its specific challenges. And Amal, I wonder here, when we look at Africa, what the specific challenges are, because I know you are so passionate about the social issues that will emerge from these new technologies, whether that is around gender, inclusion, or social justice. I wonder what you're able to do on those issues at the AI movement, and how we make sure that in this rush to develop new technology, we don't forget about some of those important issues.
Yes, indeed. In Africa, there are many challenges that are quite different from other parts of the world. And the first one we face is the literacy. We have to deal with this. And generative AI in this sense was very helpful and also painful. Helpful because we can generate, we have seen this morning speech to text, text to speech, and we have a lot of applications based on generative AI to help people to read, write, answer without knowing writing or reading even. It was painful in the sense that but I think we have good news this morning with Alem, because not everybody can speak English or Latin languages, and most LLMs were developed for Latin languages, and we are very happy to see that. We have started some work with Darija, which is dialect in Morocco, but we cannot scale to Africa. And one of our first goals was to develop models that can apply to dialects and then give them to populations to fine-tune them to be applied. In some countries in Africa, you can cope with 80 languages, sub-languages. So it's very difficult to meet all the expectations of the population. This is one part of the problems. The other parts can be related to food security, for example, agriculture using AI, and also some other problems related to healthcare, etc. So AI, there is a famous paper in Nature journal in 2020, which demonstrates that 79% of SDGs can be solved by AI. So this is what...
79?
79%.
Wow.
Yes, it's huge.
Yeah.
And there is a paper online, you can find it in Nature journal, very serious. And these SDGs can be very helpful for Africa. We have climate change in Africa, which is a very, very strong problem. We have also water problem, stress hydrique. So all this can be enhanced or solved thanks to AI. But as you know, there is other challenges like connectivity in Africa. Not all places are connected.
Yes.
AI needs infrastructure, needs connectivity, needs very specific skills. So in this case, what we do is that we develop flagships, as I told you, for women, for elderly people, for young people, for different kinds of categories of population, to provide accurate training for these populations. For example, we have a very nice program called AWITAI, African Women in Tech and AI, that goes from training to the market with women. This year, for example, we received women from 28 countries in Africa. And this program is very important. You can find description on the UNESCO website because it has been seen as a very impactful program because it solves the literacy problem. I mean, literacy from a technical point of view, not also gender equality, and also economic inclusion. So we can imagine that with investment, we can scale up these programs. Now we have funding for 350 women, but our target is to have like 35,000 women at the end of the journey.
And that very neatly gets us to a point I want to ask Marco about, because Marco, when we were having discussions, you talk about societal sensors. And I think that's really important. What Dr. Amal was talking about there is about looking at the communities who are impacted by this technology and how this technology can help them. And that's what those sensors would do. And that's the role that these centers will play. Just explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, so you see, if we talk about AI, right? So AI needs data, right? Where we get data? Well, via sensors, right? Now, let's use this metaphor to on the level of society, right? And of course, we don't have good societal sensors except maybe social media, web, and some of these aspects, but there are more to it, right? Especially if we want to go deeper in the society, then something what could be called societal sensors can be provided either through, well, digital media, but also via just people, right, on the ground. And in that sense, my point here was, let's say, centers like ours can censor what's happening in a society with all the sensitivity which needs to be there. Like Africa has different type of sensitivity as compared to, I don't know, Europe or other parts of the world, right? And societal sensor means, okay, we can detect things, phenomena, and so on, and by using technology, we can actually aggregate this to the level so the decision-making can be better. So my point is just, that reality is not disconnected, societal reality is not disconnected from, let's say, decision-making or whatever is happening on a higher levels of society.
And as promised, I want to come on to education for each of you, actually, because it will reshape, AI will reshape how we teach and how we learn. And I wonder whether educational institutions have really embraced that change at the moment. And what is it that these centers are able to do to bridge that divide between, academia, and we have a whole session on this on Thursday, but how academia will embrace this technology and use it in new ways to teach not only a workforce that you discussed with the AI Olympiad, but also a whole new generation of people who will learn in different ways and be taught in different ways, because this democratizes the whole process, doesn't it?
Very good question. I think I'll start from what the centers will do, then I'll go back to Saudi in specific. So the centers will work on the capability buildings and approaching countries, governments, and society, different groups and societies. That will allow us to go into multiple systems and multiple groups, and we'll perceive it as well as an international centers that provide different support to them. Hopefully, the adoption will be higher because it's an international supported program. I will look back into Saudi. Saudi in particular invested a lot in capability building. Sadaya and other programs today are already implemented in schools. I'll give you just a small example. Last year, we had a program. We trained 1,800 teachers on AI in specific program so they can teach the students, and they teach thousands of students. Now, this program, once we started it in Saudi, for Saudi, and we started getting calls and communication from different countries that we want to participate. How can we participate?
Yep.
That's what the role of the center will be about, to take the learnings that we have in Saudi and other countries as well, and pass it along, that knowledge and that experience to other countries. So they don't need to reinvent the wheel. This program been done in X country and can be done in Y country, and maybe can be to the region, and then you will see it implemented fastly in multiple education society. Now, today in Saudi, not only the Ministry of Education is implementing multiple programs, also private sector are implementing, private schools are implementing AI in their side. Now comes the regulation part. Now comes how are we making sure these programs are ethical? How can we ensure also the transparency of the program, the protection of our children, and so on. Therefore, there will be multiple initiatives that will work between the capability building and adoption in countries and knowledge transfer from a country to another, and also for the policy recommendation from those centers.
Yeah, and Dr. Amal, when you hear something like that, because we know education is a real challenge in some parts of Africa, and what the technology will allow us to do is to roll out the ability for more people to learn in more ways with tailored programs, with country-specific information. Where is Africa on that journey as far as embracing this technology for education and academia?
I think we should go ahead with education because it's the basis of development of any country.
Of course.
And in Morocco, we started with Master Junior for 14 years old kids. So this is to prepare the new generation, because we can find like solutions to elderly people. We can find solutions to women that have never been to school, etc. But we should build on a solid ground, and the ground will be these kids tomorrow. In 4 years, 5 years, they will be at the university, and we should go ahead with this new generation. We use AI to learn AI, in fact, in our center. We use a lot of tools based on AI, and also we, like for example, chatbots that can discuss, that can educate kids. And we are very careful with the questions of privacy, data privacy, and manipulating nudges, etc. But at the same time, we go ahead with AI for education.
And let me bring Marco in at this point, because that's, we do not have universal access to this technology. And therefore, there is a widening gap between the haves and the have-nots when it comes to the power of tools like this. And I wonder how we bridge that divide, Marco.
You see, there are different divides, right? So it's not just divides between, I don't know, rich and poor world, right? I mean, it's divide happened within sciences, There are some areas, communities, or parts of science which are just rejecting this transformational AI which is happening. Then industries, right? You have, even within a rich country, some industries are catching up, some just don't follow properly for several reasons, because of maturity of management or because of lack of knowledge and so on. Now, how to bridge this, right? So just going back to this statement about education, right? So you see, we are in a very unique situation that this AI, which happened in the last 2 years, roughly, it's so simple to use, right? It's so simple to use. This is not an AI which needs to be mystified and so on, right? So in that sense, kids have no problem, right? So if kids have no problem, also the rest of the society shouldn't have a problem. So education, by just explaining that this technology actually helps, it can do harm as well, of course, but it can help in most of the cases, right? And it's inevitable somehow that this will happen within 5 to 10 years. Just going back maybe 30 years ago when web appeared, right? We had the same discussion, Many people rejected web, and then maybe after 10 years, of course, there was no choice, right? Here will be pretty much the same.
Our time is nearly up, but a final question, Abdul Rahman. Who will win the AI Olympiad? Which country?
I hope Saudi Arabia.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for my panel, for Amal, for Marco, and Abdul Rahman. Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you. Thank you.